Hi guys, I'm Laura Vitale and thanks to Guiding Stars for sponsoring this video. On this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, we are making such a classic. My mouth is salivating already. We are making an entertaining holiday classic. We're making a beef Wellington. I have never made a traditional beef Wellington here before, but I feel like there's no better time than right now to really go all out when we have the chance to and just spoil our loved ones with delicious food, which is what I like to do around the holiday season. I am not a gift buying kind of gal. I instead like to have people over a little bit at a time and treat them to something really special. And there's very few things that are as special or as like celebratory looking as a beef Wellington. So I'm thrilled to share this recipe with you. And as you're doing your shopping for this time of the year and you're shopping for your big celebrations and your wonderful festive meals, do me a favor. Do me a favor. Do keep an eye out for the Guiding Stars program because it does allow you to make more nutritious choices when you are shopping. I have talked about Guiding Stars before. I will talk about it till the end of time because I love this program for its ease. It's free and it's, to me, it's just a really easy way to make more nutritious choices when I am shopping. All I have to do and all you have to do is look for the little 3-star icon, which is very easy to spot. You can find it either on the label right under the product that you're searching for, or sometimes you're lucky enough to find the icon on the item itself, like right on this olive oil here. And the icons have recently changed, and I'll show you what they look like on the screen. So it's a 3-star program. 1 star means that the item has good nutrition. 2 stars means that the item has better nutrition. And then 3 stars means that the item has got the best nutrition you can possibly get your hands on. So it's easy to find. Take your kids with you, especially at the holiday season, and you have them home for that 10-day period and you're taking them shopping with you. It's a really easy thing for them to do to keep themselves occupied, and you know, it's doing some good. So we all love that, and if we're doing a lot of shopping right now, make better nutritious choices where you can. Just take that from me. Okay. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to work on is our mushrooms. We are going to make a duxelle, so a mushroom duxelle, which is really easy, simple mushroom mixture that we are going to very, very finely chop in our food processor until it's like almost like a paste. And we're going to marry that with mushrooms and marry the mushrooms with shallots and garlic and thyme, and we're going to cook it in butter and some olive oil and lots of salt and pepper. The first thing I'm doing right now is I'm cleaning the mushrooms by rubbing them with a clean kitchen towel. You never want to rinse mushrooms underwater because mushrooms, think of a mushroom like a sponge, right? Anytime you introduce liquid to it, that's what it's going to absorb. So if you're going to introduce water to them, they're just going to soak up water and they're never going to have really good texture. They're going to always be spongy and watery and bland. So you just clean them with a really clean towel, just like this. And then we're going to give them a rough chop and add them to our food processor along with shallots and garlic. I do this part in batches because my food processor, it can't handle all the goods at one time. So I do it in batches, but you really want to get that going and you want it to be, you can see in here how finely chopped it is. You want it to be very finely chopped because as this cooks down, it's going to become almost like a paste. It's going to be between the beef and the prosciutto, and it is so magnificent. And then we make a peppercorn sauce to go. Listen, I cannot, okay? This is not ordinarily something I would make often, but around this time of year, if you want to do something really special, it feels good. In my skillet here, I have some butter, and to it, I'm going to add a little bit of our olive oil, and I'm going to just let that butter melt. It doesn't have to be screaming hot because the purpose of what we're going to do next is not to brown the mushrooms and develop crispy bits or anything like that. It's to basically cook this mixture down so that we evaporate all of the moisture because we don't want anything soggy. And like I said, it creates almost like a paste. Get this all in here into a bowl while my butter melts. And in the meantime, I'm gonna just add some fresh thyme. Easy peasy. I'll add it right to the mushrooms. Lovely. Now this is gonna get really wet and soggy looking, and then all of that moisture will cook out and it'll develop beautiful deep brown color, salt and pepper. Now, if you are doing your holiday shopping around this time of year and say you want to be like, you know what, I'm opting out from going to the grocery store. I'm going to have my food delivered, which, by the way, what a gift, may I just say, because when I'm overwhelmed, that is the route I like to go. And you still want to make sure that you are shopping with the Guiding Stars program. You can just go ahead and go to the retailer that you're shopping at. And if you go ahead and pick, let's just say, mushrooms, and you can actually filter by Guiding Stars, and then all of the products that follow, you know, in the mushroom category that follow the program or that are in the program, those will be the items that show up. So you can essentially just shop all Guiding Stars program as you're doing your online shopping, which is really nice. And if you have a product that you don't know whether or not it qualifies, you can also just check their app, or you can check on their website. Nifty. It's a great way to still shop the program in the comfort of your own home. So I'm just going to cook this. That's going to take about 10 minutes. Mushrooms are coming along nicely. They're not nearly done yet. You can see, by the way, this is a heat-proof spatula. It's not going to melt my mushrooms, I promise. You can tell there's still a lot of moisture in here. We don't want that. We want there to be basically no visible moisture bubbles. Okay, let's talk beef for a minute. For beef Wellington, you have to use a really beautiful beef tenderloin. Okay, this is close to 3 pounds. I have got a cast iron skillet here getting really hot. To it, I'm going to add a small drizzle of a light olive oil or avocado oil, anything really light. You need to season it like you mean it the entire roast. I like to season my board so that it's easy for me to season the sides and the base with lots of salt. I like to use coarse kosher salt, lots of freshly ground black pepper. Beautiful. This is a tip I saw years ago Jamie Oliver do, and I was like, that is the most genius thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Why doesn't everybody do that? Then you take your filet. I like to tie it in a few places simply because it helps keep the shape, right? And then you just roll it in your seasoning. See that? And it's perfectly seasoned on all sides. This is really the only chance you have to season the beef, so don't be shy. You do need to have a filet here. No other cut of meat will do, sadly. It just is the perfect cut for this recipe. Once you have it really well seared and your skillet is like that hot, like I'm talking smoky hot, you're gonna add this in and you're going to season it on all sides. And you're not gonna flip it until each side is deeply, deeply, deeply golden brown and crispy and crusty and delightful. That includes the ends. So let that go. I'm gonna just clean everything up because everything has to cool after, and then we proceed. Beef seared, it's gorgeous. You just wanna make sure that it develops that really beautiful color. I'm salivating already. Remove it to a plate and let it cool. Mushroom, they cook down to practically nothing, right? You can see they're a lot darker in color. We cooked out all of the extra moisture and they're good to go. Okay, what I have here is a couple layers overlapped of plastic wrap. On top of that plastic wrap, you're going to add a layer overlapping of prosciutto. You want it to be the same length as like when you roll up the whole thing. It needs to fit in there basically, right? So now that we have all that done, let's proceed. You're gonna add your mushroom filling on top of the prosciutto. Okay, now traditionally, beef Wellington also has pate in it, but I don't know anybody that has made it with pate in many, 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 many years. But if you wanted to add a layer of pate to this, you could. I don't, but you absolutely could. You're gonna go ahead. I should have probably, instead of putting the mushrooms all in the center, I could have done a better job at spreading them out, but that's okay. We'll just take our time and make one nice thin layer, even as possible. Make sure you cut the string off of your roast. You definitely don't want to leave that in there. Okay, take this baby, and now you're going to, I'm going to do this with a spoon. you're just gonna put a thin layer of Dijon mustard. This is whole grain Dijon mustard, which I love. I have such a love affair with whole grain mustard. It's insane. I just love that when you bite into it, those little bursts of mustard seeds, just delightful. So, and don't leave it out, please. It makes such a difference. You do notice that there is something missing if you don't do it. And now just carefully flip it so that you can get the underside. Actually moved this closer to me. That's okay, we have a little mustard over there. Okay, now you're gonna use the plastic wrap as your guide, okay? You're gonna use the plastic wrap to kind of help you lift that prosciutto onto that. I'm just gonna keep rolling it like so, like that. Get the prosciutto at the end. I just kind of do that. And then you're going to wrap it in the plastic wrap, okay? And you're gonna just pop this into the fridge for 20 minutes while we get the puff pastry ready. Okay, now let's talk puff pastry. I do not make my own homemade puff pastry. If you do, you are an overachiever. I hope your coffee is always hot. I hope you never get stuck in a red light. However, I just don't. I'm not patient enough to make my own puff pastry, so I use good old store-bought puff pastry, which works perfectly for this. Just make sure it's thawed and you keep it cold. Now, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna take both of your pieces of puff pastry, which in every single standard grocery store, you get 2. You're going to fan them open, put just a tiny bit of flour on the bottom, not too much. You're gonna open them up. You're gonna overlap slightly. You're gonna take a little bit of egg wash, which is just 1 egg beaten with a touch of water, okay? Think of that as like glue, okay? And then you're just going to very patiently, and you see how I'm kind of holding it here? Because if I don't hold it, it's just gonna run away from me. You're going to seal them together just like that into one big piece of puff pastry. And then you're gonna roll this out. Now, there's a very good chance that, well, with certainty, I can tell you that the piece of puff pastry is way bigger than you're gonna need. However, one piece I always find like it's just not big enough. So you just gotta do it, okay? Now, you take your beautiful, gorgeous piece of beef and you're just gonna roll it. This looks intimidating and I know that, but you've gotta just trust me when I tell you it's a little labor intensive, but it's not at all difficult, okay? And we've talked about the difference between difficult and labor intensive, okay? And you know, you're only gonna make this once a year, right? At least I am. I would certainly not make this more than once. Maybe twice a year if somebody was being really good and they asked for this for a special occasion. Depending on how much dough you have left over, you can cut off any excess from the sides. I never feel like it's necessary. I always just take a tiny bit of egg wash, just like that, and I stretch the top to seal, okay? And then I just sort of tuck it like that. I just think that that's the easiest way to do it. And if I'm in your way in any way, then just accept my apology, okay? Like so, like that. That is gorgeous. That is gorgeous. Just you wait until it's ready. Now, sadly, which I know is going to be very upsetting when I tell you, you got to pop this into the fridge for like 20 minutes or so because we've worked with that dough, we warmed it up a bit, and we don't want that. We want that dough to be really nice and cold when it goes into the oven so that we can ensure that it gets a beautiful golden brown flaky texture. Shake off any excess flour. I'm gonna go ahead and just lightly cover this with some plastic wrap and just pop it into the fridge for like 20 minutes or so. In the meantime, preheat your oven to 400. All right, this baby was in the fridge for 20 minutes. Oven's preheated to 400. I don't do any fancy patterns. I also don't do a lattice topping with another piece of puff pastry, because what happens is when you double up the pieces of puff pastry, it tends to be a little bit raw. The pastry itself tends to be raw, and we don't want that. So all I do is I just do very light sort of scoring patterns like that. Very simple. And then this also kind of helps a little bit of venting, which is lovely. And it's beautiful. And by the time you're done serving it, though, to be honest, no one cares about how perfect it looks. I can guarantee you that. You're going to brush the top. Now, one of the things that makes people really nervous about cooking a whole roast or an expensive steak, a prime rib, a filet in this case, is the possibility, I should say, of overcooking the beef. Now, there is absolutely nothing worse on planet Earth, shouldn't say that, but you know, in terms of food, than an overcooked filet. Now, this is your best friend. I got mine from Amazon. I have a few of these. They're fantastic. You set your temperature to what you want it to be. I pull mine out when it's 120, which means it's pretty rare, okay? As it sits for a half an hour to rest, it will carry over cooking to 145, which puts it in that perfect medium to medium rare category. So it's not too rare, because my husband does not like it too rare, but it's not medium to medium well, because once you've taken it to that far, it's a little tough, and I don't like that. So all you do is you take your probe, okay? I just stick it right in the center like that. And it's, as you cook it, that temperature will rise and rise and rise and rise and rise. And once it hits 120, you're gonna pull it out of the oven and you're gonna let it sit and rest on a wire rack for about a half an hour. And in that time, it will definitely carry over cooking between 25 and 30 degrees. If you like your meat really underdone and you want it at a rare, pull it out at around 105 and then let it rest, and it'll be there. It'll be about like 130 by the time it's done resting. I'm putting mine in at 400. It will take about 40 to 45 minutes. If the top gets too dark, you can always just turn the oven down a little bit or tent it with some foil as it continues roasting. For me, 40 to 45 minutes is perfect. I'm gonna pop this in. Once it's set and cool, I'll show you what it looks like. My beef was in the oven. For me, it took exactly 45 minutes, and it is gorgeous. I let it sit and cool and kind of not really cool, but rest for the past half an hour or so, and it has gone up to, well, it says 149, but it's right around 145, which is perfect. Remember, I pulled it out at 120. Now I'm gonna make a really delicious, quick and easy, like Dijon cognac cream sauce that goes so well with this. All I have in a small little saucepan here are some shallots, very finely chopped shallots with a tiny bit of butter. I want the shallots to just kind of soften. I'm not looking for them to develop a ton of color. It's also not a lot of shallots. It's just the perfect amount. Add your liquor. That needs to reduce by about half. Now, I don't ordinarily make my own stock for very many things, except when you're making a delicious sauce for something like a beef Wellington, then you should go the extra mile in making a homemade beef stock if you can, just because it's so rich and wonderful in flavor. And I made some that I'm gonna stick in the freezer. Like I said, I wouldn't ordinarily make a beef stock just to make soup or whatever, but if you wanna make something really special, make it from scratch. If you're gonna add it to things like sauce for a prime rib, a beef Wellington, a filet, anything that you wanted to just feel a little extra special. Once this is reduced by half, we're gonna add the beef stock. Add your heavy cream, pinch of salt, lots of black pepper. This is sort of a peppercorn Dijon cream sauce. Lots and lots of pepper, coarsely ground, of course. Beautiful. And now you're just gonna cook that long enough to coat. Wow, it needs to be filled. Cook it long enough to coat the back of a spoon. So that is that. You can give it a try. We'll add the mustard at the end. But right now we just need to focus on thickening that up and cooking it down. And then we're gonna go ahead and slice our beef Wellington. I'm excited about it. I've got my little gravy boat ready. I just have carrots and peas, like buttered steamed carrots and peas. I've got my platter. It's gonna look gorgeous. I cannot wait. This looks good. Get it coming along. Let's bring this baby to the cutting board. Now I want you to see, and I hope, I'm gonna try and do this in a way so that you can see it. I hope you can see, can you hear it? I hope you can hear it. Not soggy, perfectly crisp, gorgeous. It is heavenly. Sauce is still reducing. I can't take it anymore. Now, the first slice is always, typically, it's just a mushroom filling, right? Yeah, it's just a mushroom filling. And then as we slice a bit more, oh, I just know that's gonna be gorgeous. Do it as carefully as possible. Oh my stars! Is that gorgeous, or is it just me? That's beautiful. And that to me is perfectly cooked in every way. I'm gonna move this over here actually to my plate. That is absolutely perfectly cooked. It's gotta be pink. You can't cook a beef Wellington well done. I am sorry. Don't come for me. Don't even think about coming for me, but you're cooking a beef Wellington. You're cooking a filet. That is as far as I would take it, which gives you a perfect sort of medium rare territory, which we love. We love a little medium rare territory. A little steamed veg. You don't need a ton because remember, you've got mushrooms and puff pastry. We have all the things. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. The sauce is nice and thickened. Add some whole grain Dijon. Stir that in. Yeah, baby. Oh, I'm so excited. I am just so thrilled for this. Just getting that mustard all nice and melty in there. I am so thrilled for this. It looks absolutely perfect. My mouth is watering. My mouth is watering. I can't take it anymore. Sauce is reducing really nicely. Hold on. You know what I need? A whisk. Get it into the gravy boat. And that is my idea of perfection. Such a special treat. Perfect for this time of the year. If you're not going to treat people to something special this time of the year, then, you know, it's not going to be pretty to cut. Let's just make that very clear, okay? It's not going to be pretty to cut into it. The important thing is that you get a little bit of everything. The pastry, the prosciutto, the beef, all of it. Honestly, wow. Definitely a splurge. Definitely a labor of love. Definitely worth doing at this time of the year for someone that you love and you know they're so special to you. It's magnificent. The recipe's on laurainthekitchen.com. Once again, thanks to Guiding Stars for sponsoring this video. I will leave a link to Guiding Stars down below. You can get more information, recipes, all that good stuff. Hope you enjoy spending time with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.